James, what's up?
Not much. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit. I did see you relatively recently, relative to our relationship in the last 5 or 10 years. But
yes. Yeah, it's been a while.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Yeah. Where are you exactly?
I'm at my home in Seattle, Washington, West Seattle.
Seattle.
Yes.
I know that place.
Specific. Yeah,
That's the place to be.
It is.
Who doesn't live here?
Well, I only live here for a couple more weeks, I think. But
really?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
We're moving back to Issaquah, Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really strangely.
That's where that Flaming Modest Mouse is from, right?
That's the place. Yes.
The little village.
Yeah.
Issaquah is what Tim Loftus calls it.
Loftus.
Well, shoot. I mean, everyone lives in West Seattle. Mudhoney, Pearl Jam.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lync.
There we go, sort of. We were driving back from getting something to eat the other day, and I'm like, there's a person with 2 little dogs that sort of looks like Mark. And then we roll up and it's Mark. So I whipped around and got to talk to him for a second. That was awesome because I haven't seen him in a while. And he has precious little dogs, you know.
What are his dogs?
He had 2 little Pomeranians with him, but I'm not sure if he used to have 2 little kind of light colored ones. He had a light one and a dark one, but I didn't get the story, but I got to pet one of them.
Yeah.
So soft.
So soft. Yes. He got the soft model.
Yes, exactly.
I just joined the small dog club, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I know you have a bigger one, but
yeah, I have a big one and a small one now.
What's your small one?
It's a long-haired dachshund. Oh. David Dickinson would be proud to know. Proud to know.
That's precious.
Yeah, I'm new to those little creatures.
How's that going?
Good. Sassy. All sass.
Yes, I'm sure.
But I can handle it. James, I know your rock and roll history, but can you lay out a little bit, and I'll help you if you forget any of it. But
okay,
your rock and roll bio. I was just jogging my memory in the last few days about it, and man, I like your rock and roll bio.
Oh, thank you.
It's titillating.
It's weird, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you start rocking and rolling?
I guess Issaquah, Washington. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Played a little bit in high school for just a minute, but I mean, Lync was the first real band I was in, I guess.
It was. Okay.
We started in 1992. I graduated high school in 1991 and moved down to Olympia to go to Evergreen State College, and then wasn't there for long, and then ended up back in Issaquah. And then I met Sam and Dave sometime shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So that was the first band I was in.
Yeah. And so you guys were 20-ish, 19.
Yeah, I was 19 when we started. I think those guys are a year younger.
Yeah. And of course, we're here to talk about Lync and the reissue, etc. But let's skip forward a little bit historically. And what'd you do after Lync? Lync was a band for 3-ish years, 4 maybe?
Actually just 2 years.
Oh, 2. Okay.
2 and a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Right at the end of Lync, possibly before our last show, shortly before our last show, or shortly after, within a week or 2, either way, started playing with Jeremiah Green and Tony Palmisani and Jason Talley, who we ended up doing Red Stars Theory. Those 3 have been playing in multiple bands forever. The whole time they had been sort of playing music, and so I had seen some other bands they were in. And in particular, they were in a band called Has Been for a brief moment. with one of the guys from the band Swarming Hordes. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
familiar with that.
Oh, yes.
So I saw them play and I was like, this is rad. And I knew that Lync wasn't going to be playing. I was like, I want to try to play with those guys. I ended up just asking, like, hey, I've never played guitar, but would you guys want to play some music together? They're like, sure. So that was weird, but we just sort of started over. And I mean, started over, I should say started.
Yeah, that's right.
But those guys, they had so many songs with different people, and then it's like it kind of quickly just became the thing that we were all sort of focusing on.
Right. And to interject real quick, I was in Red Stars Theory for 2 practices.
I was gonna say, if I didn't know if you would even remember that.
Oh God, I remember that. Anyways,
it was probably weird.
It was fun. And we played the Barney Miller theme.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Anyways, back to you.
That's so great that you remember that. That was awesome and weird because Jeremiah was like, you guys should play with Joe Plummer or whatever. You guys should try playing with Joe because he was just getting super busy.
Yes, and exactly.
The thing about Red Stars Theory is that, like, especially then, it was like all about Jeremiah. It was like I was just like, didn't know how to play guitar. I didn't know how to play at all, really, but especially guitar. And so I just like would do some little thing, and then Jeremiah would just do a sweet beat, and then we'd follow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So Red Stars Theory, I was going to Olympia a lot still, and Calvin was like, oh, this band Built to Spill, Doug's band, is gonna get another band together, and he like really likes your guys' record, and he want to see if you guys want to like try playing with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up playing in Built to Spill for a little while. It just like very quickly happened. So this was all of these things like were happening kind of almost at the same time.
Right.
Which was really crazy, but sweet.
Yeah.
And
let me prompt you here.
Yes.
At the same time, I was in a band called Bare Minimum, and we all played together.
Yeah.
At various venues around town, but we were on tour, and I was in Boulder, Colorado, at a record store, and we all walked in together, just killing time at the record store, and there were you and Beck on a record, your face, and we're like, wait, is that
God.
James? I mean, we weren't close or anything, so we didn't know what was going on, but we had known you, and then all of a sudden we felt like James is on that Beck record. I mean, like, on it, not just on it, but he's on it also.
Yeah, like what the hell?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that. Yeah. So the Beck thing was also another thing. So much of what I got to do was because of Calvin, which was awesome. It was before his like record came out. I think I literally like maybe like a week before I saw him heard Loser on the radio. Like I had never heard it or anything, and I didn't even know it was Beck. Like even after I met him and whatever, it's like I had no idea that was him. That song was a Beck song. You know what I mean? I guess he had been up to Olympia to record with Calvin. Kind of a similar thing where he was just recording at Calvin's in his basement and just had a couple random folks like come over there. And at one point, Sam and I went over there, and he had some songs that were fully recorded. And I think I played on maybe a couple of those. And then at some point, he and Sam and I just set up in the room, in Calvin's little room, and just like started playing and just recording, just sort of jamming or whatever. And I think that's how a lot of that stuff sort of came out of that record. Some he had some finished songs, and some was just people just like, let's, like you do, let's just play and we'll hit record and see what happens. So we did that, and I didn't really think anything of it, you know, like, oh, this is totally cool, it's fun. Like, I had never recorded with anyone else besides with Lync, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. That must have been an
Yeah,
interesting experience.
yeah, it was crazy because I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't know that I'd probably been to Calvin's, but you know, I hadn't recorded over there. I remember just like feeling like, oh, this is just totally weird, but like exciting just to be doing something. But also, like I say, like I had no idea anything about anything, you know. So we recorded these songs, and there's over a few days, you know, hanging out over there, and this guy Jeff Smith, who was taking a lot of really cool photos, was just taking photos of a bunch of stuff, and he took, I guess, this photo of me and Beck on Calvin's porch, and I was like I didn't see that record. I had no clue that like this picture was on this record,
Right.
until I saw it.
God,
You know,
crazy.
and it was just so fucking weird. You know, like I think Lync was in California or like playing shows somewhere, and I just remember Calvin showing up like wherever we were, and I want to say we were in California, and he had this record.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, check out, here's the Beck record. You
yeah
know? and by this time, like maybe it's like, oh, Beck, he's this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it. I'm like,
because it came out after Loser, or some oddly at the same time, or like shortly after or something.
Yeah, shortly out, like that.
We knew who Beck was by the time the record with your face was sitting prominently in front of almost every record store, and it almost seemed like we had all heard Loser. And it seemed like this was part of the campaign. Like it was wild.
It was. I mean, it was. It was extremely wild to myself. I was playing with Doug. At some point, we were on tour, and I can't remember where we were, but maybe like him and Dave went to a record store or something, and they come back and. Doug's like, hey, I got you something, and it's a poster, like a rolled up poster.
Mm-hmm.
And I unroll it, and it's this fucking picture. It's this picture of me and Beck, like a giant poster of it. I was just like, what? There would be people who like recognized that or recognized me from that.
Yeah.
Which was just like bizarre, and I got a lot of shit for it.
You did
too. So yeah, it was just weird. It was like weird. It was just like weird. Like, how do you feel about that? I don't.
Right.
Other than like, it was weird. Like maybe it's cool, but it's also totally weird. And
I think it's cool.
I don't know. You know, I have no idea how that happened, who chose it, or what. If Calvin was just like, yeah, let's use this. I really don't know.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, we had done the Lync record. It wasn't out, but we had recorded.
Yeah.
Maybe that. I really don't know why. But that's a real bizarre thing.
Yeah, it had to have been a bizarre thing in your life. And then you moved on. At some point, you started playing with John and Polly in 764 Hero.
Yes. Yes. That was awesome. So Red Star Story wasn't playing quite as much. And somewhere in there, John and Polly, they were playing this radio show, and they were like, hey, we want to kind of do something different. Would you want to try playing bass? And I was like, of course. Because I loved John Atkins, and I loved Hush Harbor, and I loved 764 Hero. I just thought they were awesome. Yeah. So like, again, just like, oh, this random thing, these people that I love are asking me to try and do something with them. So I was just like, hell yeah, you know?
Yeah.
And we played this thing, which I think like we played and recorded there, and it was like super fun and cool, but it was just this one time thing. And then they called and asked like, hey, would you want to like play with us? And I was like, I think so.
Yeah. All right.
And I was all about like, you know, I was just real into playing music. Like that's what I was just trying to sort of do. I spent my time going to shows, and then was like, I'm going to just play music and be in bands and travel around. Like that's what I was just all about at the time. Yeah. And that was awesome. Yeah. So I crazily got to start playing and Traveling with John and Polly.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, and David.
That's right. He was with
David
them.
Dickinson. Yeah. Suicide Squeeze. He was always traveling with them. And so I got to just kind of like, they just fully welcomed me into their thing, treated me just like super awesomely, like as if it was just as much mine as theirs. Right. And it was just super fun being with those folks.
Yeah, I bet.
So like I just felt super, super lucky.
Yeah.
Like just another thing I felt super lucky to get to be involved in, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And after 764 Hero, I played with this woman, Amy Blaschke.
Mm-hmm.
I played bass, and Aaron Tate,
right.
this drummer he was in Minus the Bear.
Yeah.
We played sort of as like her band for a while, and we made a record and stuff. Yeah. And that was great too. Totally different from anything I had done.
Right.
Pretty much. But it was super fun. And that was kind of like I would say that was the last, like, what I would say sort of like band I was in that actively was like doing things, you know, playing shows. But that's pretty much.
That's
pretty
the
much
lineage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun. I like it. We're going to talk about this re-release, speaking of David Dickinson and Suicide Squeeze.
Yes.
The re-release of These Are Not Fall Colors.
Correct.
Out on October 20th on Suicide Squeeze Records. This is the reissue of the Lync record, the Lync record.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about that, but as you said, Lync was around from 92 to 94-ish. Right?
Yeah.
Let's paint that picture of 92, 94 Seattle music scene. I can throw some things at you.
Oh, yeah, please do.
I'm going to just throw some blunt ideas at you.
Yeah.
Short pants. All our pants were high waters.
Yeah, well, in my mind around that time, I think about like skater pants.
Yeah.
Short pants, but giant short pants.
Yeah. Sock exposure, but big short pants.
Yes. But then also just short pants.
Yeah.
What people might say high water.
High water, yeah. How about Sears Die Hard shoes?
Hell yeah. Yeah, so Sears Die Hard shoes, what got me into that was... I loved those things, and where I found out about those, I might be wrong, but the band Hoover, well, either Juan Carrera and maybe some other people in that band, introduced those to my feet, and there were some good shoes. It's funny because I recently kind of looked for those. There's a company that sort of started making.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, Sears went out of business a long time ago.
Yeah.
There's some company that, like, they started. I don't know if it's called Die Hards or something, but
right.
But definitely the Die Hards.
And I don't want to leave out the big important things, which were the Velvet Elvis and, of course, house shows. I mean,
of course,
our culture. We've dressed us now in this painting. I forgot sweaters. I think it was sweaters, right? You put yourself in some big pants, some sweaters, some diehards. I think we all had that.
Yep,
so we're dressed like that, and we're walking in and out of basements to see shows.
Definitely.
And it was such a lively, wonderful scene. And I think even if, we weren't talking right now, I think that for me, Lync is sort of the epitome of that. It's the epitome in my memory of that whole thing that was going on in Seattle at the time, kind of grunge adjacent.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I wasn't, none of us were anti-grunge, or I'll just speak for myself. I wasn't anti-grunge, for sure loved most of it, but we had this little teeny adjacent scene that was not grunge.
Yeah, definitely.
Going at the exact same time.
Yeah, I was really not super familiar, honestly. I mean, I knew a little bit about Mudhoney and Nirvana,
Yeah.
maybe, but Soundgarden was probably the band I knew most of. But
Yeah.
I wasn't really following
Right.
that stuff much at the time. I was coming from like straight edge stuff and sort of like DC hardcore.
Yeah. Right. That's
And you know what I mean, like sort of pre Velvet Elvis for myself, like before playing music, like going there's like a place called Party Hall. Maybe you're
yes,
familiar
of
with the
course.
Party
Yeah.
Hall and um, OK Hotel and
Mm-hmm.
shit. Like,
Yeah.
but I wasn't seeing any what I would call grunge bands
Right.
play.
Yeah.
I felt like to me I was kind of like, oh, that's sort of like the bar scene, and I'm too young.
Sure.
So I just kind of didn't pay much attention, even though that's ridiculous. But at the time, I'm like, I think that's how I felt at the time. But yeah, so it was like, the Velvet Elvis was, of course, the place. And there was the Redmond Y or the Firehouse or whatever. And then just going to Olympia all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, in high school, would drive down to see shows just because, it was
right.
a place that you could see shows. And like, that's where, Nation of Ulysses is playing down there
Right.
or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like familiar somewhat with what was going on in Olympia, like before I was like playing music really or anything.
And I used to see Lync a lot. And if it wasn't seeing you play live, I just saw you guys. I mean, it seemed like on a weekly basis. And I didn't at the time talk to you too much. And I think it was because I don't know how to put this. I just didn't look at you as like, you guys didn't act like rock stars or superstars or anything, but there was something about it. Like when you guys would play, unlike my bands, or most of the time, unlike my bands, the entire audience would swarm around you guys. And it was such a fun spectacle. They'd be like, oh, those are the guys everyone loves. Everyone loves that band. Those are the Lync guys. And again, there wasn't a tude thing or anything, but I was a little, I guess, intimidated to talk to you guys, but I would see you so often.
I don't know how any of it happened, but we were very lucky. We got people asked us to play really awesome shows.
Yeah.
Just with bands that we were totally fans of. And
right.
We got to play, I feel like, we played all the fucking time, I felt like.
I know you did.
It felt like to me, because we would just be like, anytime anyone would ask us to do something, we would just do it.
Yeah.
And it was like comical, but very fun, a very interesting time. It was really such a short amount of time, but it feels like forever in the moment.
Yeah.
But I felt like welcomed or accepted by folks who were, in bands or playing or putting on shows and stuff. So it was just super awesome that we got to be part of that, and it felt very lucky,
So now I have this, sort of more recent revisited experience with Lync, and what's kind of surfaced, which is kind of interesting to me, is that not that I ever thought that there was no integrity or heart in the band, but it, at the time when you're, as the time we're talking about, everyone seems to have heart in everything they do, right? And integrity. But what's sort of revealed is, in my listening experience, my recent listening experience, is that it holds integrity. And it's like the songwriting is, I didn't even care about the songwriting then. And now I listen to it and it's like, it's so good. Like it really is like floats to the top, if you will, use that cheap term. And a lot of bands, most bands don't do that. And it's no fault, like bands at the time that I were in, that doesn't float to the top like Lync. you know? And it's really interesting to me to say I was surprised. Again, I was never wandering around going like, Lync was a fad or anything like that. But it forced me to have the thought. It was like, fuck this band. That's like, damn.
Fuck this band,
it's
man.
good. It was good. And I attribute it to a few things. Well, I attribute it to the trio, a collective vibrations, if you will. Mm-hmm. But, one interesting thing that I realized is Sam's lyrics, or I don't know if you wrote lyrics, but I know you sang as well, but the lyrics in Lync were vague. They were just kind of a lot of times vague. There's specific stuff, but the beauty in it, which again is a new thing I realized, is that like you guys just pick the right words to be a hook, and it's like a sign of the times. It doesn't matter what you say; it just sounds really good in the song. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was the angle, but man, it still works. It's so cool. Because I never
of you to say.
Yeah, I never read the lyrics, but again, I listened to it and I was like, oh, I remember all these hooks of this band.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I mean, that's Sam Jane right there, man.
Yeah,
that's Sam. I mean, I wrote a little bit, but Sam was the man, the man, if you will.
Yeah.
He was just I don't know how he did it. But I am just as much of a fan as anyone else could be, You're
not only a founder, you're a member. Wait, what is that? What is that Hair Club for Men thing?
I'm not the founder, I'm a member. I'm not just the you got it. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yes. I credit that to Sam Jane.
Yeah. I will stop here. But the third prong, which is very simple, I was a big fan of the Hated.
Hell yeah.
And I was a big fan of Neurosis, especially their first few records. And Pitchfork. And not to just stick it all in there, but I mean, it's like a conglomeration of those bands. The energy that, and I didn't recognize it back then, but it's the energy of those types of bands, and specifically those bands for me, is Lync.
Dang, that's a huge compliment.
Was that what you were listening to? Or what were you listening to?
I mean, I definitely was.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the Hated. I loved Pitchfork. I wasn't as familiar with Neurosis, but as you hear everything, you don't hear everything, but
sure.
that was happening. But it's funny that people like the fact that like Lync's name even gets mentioned in the same breath as any of that kind of stuff is like amazing to me. Right. It's like fucking very generous to be put into some of these amazing bands, and we were just like had no fucking clue.
Right.
I didn't have any clue. We were just like doing what we were doing, but even if I like loved a band or something, like I had no idea how to and I will make music and it will be like that.
Yeah. Neither did I. Neither did we.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And maybe a lot of people think that.
Yeah. Well, let's hear an example of Lync awesomeness. I want to play Pennies to Save. Is that cool?
That is cool. Sure.
Here we go.
manipulative. Try to just about a change, but your life gets too complicated. Don't believe you will, don't believe you'll kill. Don't believe you don't wanna save the world. Don't believe you will, don't believe you won't. Choose your pennies to save. Where has it gone? Where has it gone? So that secret shut from eyes that see it, 'cause seeing is believing. So that secret shut. So that secret shut from eyes that see it, 'cause seeing is believing. So that secret shut. So that secret shut from eyes that see it. Where has it gone? So that secret shut from eyes that see you. Can see it and believe it. Where has it gone?
I have in my notes, perfect song. Yeah. I was driving on Ambom today when I wrote that down at a red light. What were your first practices like? Can you describe those?
Yes. Well, we practiced at Sam's parents' house in Bellevue, and probably just made a lot of noise. Sam and Dave had some songs when I started playing with them, so I tried to make parts to a couple of their songs. Maybe a couple I was able to, but I also then was like, I just have no clue what I'm doing, and so we just kind of started making things together.
Yeah.
Sam had this little, I want to say it was like a Roland Spirit or something. He had this little amplifier that we didn't have a PA or anything, but he had two really little amplifiers. And so one, he would put vocals, and it was literally so small, and it had four little 1-inch speakers or something. And you just couldn't hear anything. I mean, you couldn't hear anything of anything we were doing, but it was fun. And that was the only place we practiced at first, before we ended up making this demo tape. We only had practiced a few times before we made this tape.
Okay. You make it at his parents' house as well?
No, we actually, so this guy Jeff McCullough, which you might know, I don't know, he was basically, we went over to his mom's house, and he had a 4-track, and it was like, yeah, come over and I'll record you. And we set up in his hallway, or maybe the drums were in one room and I was out in the hallway and Sam was somewhere else, and we just recorded again, just massively loud, what are we doing? But his mom was I don't know if she was cool with it, but it happened.
Yeah.
Let it happen. Just very, very quickly,
Right. Is the demo floating around out there anywhere?
It might. Uh, I have one somewhere in my house, and I came across it like very recently and trying to, work on all this stuff. I need to digitize it.
Yes, you do.
I mean, I know that me and Sam, or maybe me and Sam and Dave, each had ones that we would just, dub for people or to make those demos or whatever. So it's like second or third or fourth generation copy, depending on, when you got it, I guess. But
how exciting was that? It was like, okay, we just recorded the songs. Dave, here's your tape. Sam, here's your tape. James, here's your tape. And you're just like driving in your car and listening to it. So exciting.
Yeah, it's like me starting to play with those guys, us making that tape, and then sort of that happened very quickly. Say within 2 months or something, which felt very quick.
Yeah, that's quick.
But I really think it was like very quick, and it was basically like we started playing together, recorded this demo, and Isaac and I had a plan to go out to Washington, D.C. to see like Fugazi and Bikini Kill were playing, but like Heavens to Betsy and Bratmobile were on tour. And originally, like, we were going to try to like ride along with them, but there was many people. I think they had 3 or 4 other people already with them. But so we made a plan along. Basically like, and we're gonna fly out there and basically like meet up with those folks and go to this show, basically. So it was like we recorded this thing, and then I remember just like making a few tapes.
Oh man.
To take with me, like, I'm gonna give them to these folks, Yeah. It was awesome. We did that, and I took tapes out there, and I ended up meeting like the guys in Hoover, like giving them a tape and stuff, and we ended up kind of becoming friendly. And the first shows outside of Washington State that we did, like we drove down to meet Hoover in California when they were on tour,
right,
and play shows with them, like coming up the coast.
Cool.
Which was sweet. And another crazy, like, how?
Yeah. Because you flew to DC with a cassette in your bag and handed it to Hoover.
Somebody.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely think all of us, like, at the time, it was like people were just doing stuff. It was all just like, do it yourself. And I remember going to Simple Machines when we were out there and just being blown away by it. I was kind of like followed all this stuff,
Did you consider handing the cassette to the head of A&R at Discord Records? Whatever his name is. What's his name?
I probably consider that.
Ian McKenzie?
I don't think I got tapes to those folks.
You didn't?
But
you didn't imagine yourself like, I'm going to walk up those steps.
Well,
and knock on that door.
I don't think I could have talked to any of these people. I was just like, holy shit, these people.
Yeah.
I got to see some really good Fugazi shows.
That's right. And then at some point you decided to make a record. Do you remember much of that?
Well, let's see. We had put out a couple singles, and the first 7-inch that we did, Calvin helped us do. Like, I basically like figured out doing everything, but worked out with Calvin to where he basically was like, we'll distribute it. And he paid for pretty much the whole thing by buying like 500 copies or so,
I see. Yeah.
I was like, I'll sell them to you for $1.75 each or something. You know what I mean? So
you paid for it and then he bought them.
Basically, yeah. But it was like basically how it worked out was
his money.
We're already knowing that he's what he's going to be paying is going to cover it,
right?
Basically,
Gotcha.
And we'll make the covers and things. Just trying to do it budge, you know. So we had that sort of relationship with Calvin, and the songs that were on that 7-inch were recorded by Pat Malley, who was going to do this compilation, this yo-yo compilation. And he was kind of like, I'll record you guys, for free if you give me a song for this compilation. He recorded at the backstage Capitol Theater,
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded 6 or 7 songs. I don't know if it was like, that's what we had, or it's like, we have 2 hours or something.
Yeah. Right.
So we recorded these songs. Pat picked one, and then we used a few more of them to do our first 7-inch or whatever. Had that relationship with Calvin, and then we at some point recorded another 6 or 7 songs with Tim Green at the Red House, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So we had those sort of like relationships or whatever, this sort of things that we had done. So Calvin then was like, yeah, would you guys want to make, actually, I want to say it was Candace, maybe even, who was part of K at the time.
Yeah.
She had a lot to do with us being on K, I guess I would say. But Calvin set up to have Phil Eck, who, I don't know if he knew or just knew, like, oh, here's this guy who records people at this place, John and Stu's.
Yeah.
So Calvin set all of that up.
He set it up with Phil. Yeah.
And so we went there, 2 rooms there, pretty small, but we just kind of like set up our stuff. We had no idea what we were doing, of course, recording, and probably thought like, oh, it's so weird. We're recording in a studio, or this is weird. You know what I mean? Are we going to do overdubs or whatever?
Now look at us. We're hot shots.
Yeah, there
We're
you go.
embarrassed at being hot shots in this huge studio.
Yeah. So I remember like we somehow figured out like we're going to have Tim come with us because he had recorded with us, and we just were like, awesome, getting to hang out with Tim.
Yeah.
And I remember the night before we were going to go record, me and Sam and Dave and Tim were like, we're going to go up to Issaquah and stay at my parents' house because we had to be there in the morning or something. I can't remember why, but for some reason remember that we either seriously or as a joke got Zimas. Do you remember that drink, Zima? So like we're out at my parents' house and like maybe outside in the parking lot, like those guys, I don't think I even drank, but like they're like drinking Zimas, and we're like, yes, just getting ready to go record, And then, so when we went to the studio, we just didn't really know what to do. Like we're setting stuff up, and, Phil's like, oh, I have to put microphones on. It just felt very different, even though we had recorded. We're like, this is like for reals. We weren't looking at it as what we were doing as any different. And I have this specific memory of Sam. It's like, oh, I need guitar strings. And for some reason he bought acoustic guitar strings, like bronze acoustic guitar strings. And that's what he put, I don't know if the whole record, but like that's what he put on his guitar when we recorded. And we had one of those magic mic. It's like a plastic microphone with a spring in it, sort of like reverb. It's like we put one of those like in sort of Sam's speaker cabinet and put a mic on that also as a thing.
I hear that now. Jeez.
That was like just because we were just like, this will be cool or whatever. And I think all this stuff Phil's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And we were just playing like, we didn't get like, oh, well, we need to like turn down our instrument so we can get a good recording or whatever. So we're just like turning it up even more, and just doing what we thought we should do. I don't know. And try not, like we're not going to let anyone tell us how to do it. This is our thing or whatever. That's what I feel like the attitude was at the time.
And did you do did you track live all at once except for the vocals?
Yes.
You just played.
Sam did guitar overdubs, but yeah,
Sure.
everything was live, which is probably like why it sounds how it sounds. But
sounds great.
I think it's the only way we knew how to do anything. It's like we have to be looking at each other to know what.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but not looking at each other, but like I need to be able to see if I think Dave's about to hit something.
I remember being stressed about that when I was early days of recording too.
Yeah. It's like I go like it's not like we're like looking at each other, but you're kind of watching what other people are doing.
Yeah, you need your camaraderie or something. I don't know what it is. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Your safety blanket of your band members. That's funny.
Yeah. So Calvin and Tim were both there. At least I really can't remember how many days we did. Like it was only a few, but I remember just feeling like it was very quick and like really fun and weird. So when we're recording, it's like we got John Atkins to come in. We just like loved Hush Harvard. We're like, we should try to get John Atkins to come in and do something. And so,
Rad.
And we were like, let's get him to play guitar on something.
Yeah.
That's what we were at first thinking. Yeah, we ended up just being like, just do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want on this. Just make noises, or whatever. And we had him like, he ended up doing like a little bit of vocals on a couple songs.
On which songs do you remember?
Specifically the song Angel Food, Fodder, and Vitamins. Mm-hmm. It's called because we had John say, and vitamins.
So funny.
I don't even know how, but like, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, crazy. Like to me, it was just like, there's Calvin, and it's like, oh, Tim Green's here. And then we get this guy, John, coming in. It's like, holy shit. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah. A salon of what a vibe that must have been. Well, it shines through on the record, I think. You can feel all that.
Actually, really, I hadn't listened to it for a long time.
Yeah.
I like really like it. Like I feel like it's something that I would like, I would like if I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, kind of weird or whatever, sure. But like not having her, it just feels separate from me. It feels like it's not something that I did.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah. That's great.
I don't know. I think there's been times over my life probably that I was like gone like, oh, I really like this, or oh, I'm super embarrassed by myself and what I've done.
Right.
But having a break from it and then getting to listen to it again, I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Oh man, that's great.
I don't know.
That's great. Well, thank you for making the record. Let's thank David for putting it back out there.
Yeah, there are numerous times over the years that Sam or I were going to try to like do something with it. It's like, oh, let's make it. And then so Sam kind of made a label and was like, oh, I'm going to try to reissue it. And we never had money or anything to like even approach thinking about doing something like that. And so like finally I think Sam and Dave had talked about stuff, but Sam and I were like, we finally talked about like, oh, we should try to do it,
Right.
And I was just like, man, like I'm going to ask David Dickinson if he'll do this because he's just like my favorite, like the best person. I was just like, man, it would be so awesome if David would be into this. I'm like, I don't know if he'll be into this or what, But I asked him and he was like into it, which was so fucking rad.
So great.
It's been just like amazing he's figured it all out and like taught me how people do shit nowadays.
Yeah. Right.
Which I'm just not used to.
Sure. Right.
But I'm so fucking thankful. I like feel like it's like the best. It's just like to get to do something with David and sort of reconnect with certain people. Yeah. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, thanks to David, but thanks to you three for making this record. It's floating to the top, as I said. It is persevering. And it's really been a pleasure for me to get back into it and consider it in a different way. And it's fucking great.
Man, thanks a lot, Joe.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And
yeah,
it's great to talk to you. I hope to see you before you get off the island.
Great to talk to you too. I get to see you just on a box as I drive by all the time. It's funny, like
I like to call that a statue. Please refer to it as a statue.
Okay. The first time I saw this statue,
yeah.
I was like, it was amazing, but I was like, couldn't believe what I saw. And I was like, is that weird? Why does it say Dreamer Joe Plummer?
Oh, right.
He's a dreamer. And then I'm like, oh, and then I like went around the block and I went back and I took a picture and I'm like, oh, how crazy. There's Joe. That's how awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The box.
I don't really get to see you aside from that, but are you proud of the box?
I'm a little shy about the box, but you know, the artist is cool. It's a cool thing. I'm not walking around talking to people about it, but you know, as I say that, I'm going to brag right now.
Yeah,
it's a miniature tour story.
Oh yeah.
I was on tour last year and we were playing a festival with a bunch of bands, and Pearl Jam was the one that was headlining. I was watching someone from side stage, and old Ed Veds was there.
Yeah.
And we said hi, and then he walked up to me a few minutes later. He's like, I saw your box. I'm jealous. and he's like, mine's all fucked up. And I was like, I know. And it bums me out because I drive by it, and it's someone vandalized his box. So we have a plan. We have a plan to go repair his and maybe add some stuff to it. Maybe that's the sort of like heist we can do before you move. We can go fix it and enhance it and give him some glasses and a cigar or something.
Oh, that would be good.
But, you know, I never thought that Eddie Vedder would be jealous of anything.
You're like, there
look
you
at
go.
me now.
You're in good company with it. Yeah.
All right. I bragged.
I like it.
I may cut this out, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
I like it.
All right, man. I do hope to see you before you go, because we don't see each other enough. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Congrats on this record. A lot of greatness.
Okay.
All right.
Cool,
man.
Thanks a lot.
All right. I hope to see you soon.
You too. Talk to you later, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.